So here's the question then. Here's the prediction for 2026. Do we think Sir Keith Stonger, KC, will be Prime Minister this time next year?
It won't be Prime Minister by this time next week, no. It'll be May, after the May elections, there'll be a King's speech, and then 2 weeks later he'll get cooed.
You reckon? Okay, who do you reckon he's going to get cooed in favour of?
Oh, it's going to be Streeting.
Oh, okay. Well, that's strong. I think it depends to a degree how successful they are in trying to cancel all of these council elections. If the number's small enough, even if they do really badly, if they only lose an X number of seats, and it's not like a historic number of seats or anything, because they basically allowed half the country to not vote again, he might be able to just about cling on, maybe.
I think the thing is that basically all of the councils that are still doing their elections are all now just in Labour heartlands. Like, all of London is still having all their local elections.
That is true, yeah.
I guess that's a really good jumping off point to talk about just how shit of a year it's been for the Labour Party.
It's been very, very bad. And mainly because they are bad. Not just like they're bad in terms of their policy, which is obviously true. But, I mean, so are the Tories. Like, bad policy actually gets you elected in the UK because people in Britain are fucking idiots. It's that they're bad at politics. I genuinely think we'll look back, and this didn't even happen this year, of course, but we will look back on the winter fuel allowance stuff as like the cut that never stopped bleeding.
The U-turn on it came this year, right?
Well, yeah, exactly.
That is the spending review. That was terrible politics. And the fact they announced it before fucking recess, which meant that it was just all people talked about for a week, right?
And they've never ever been able to drag it back. That's the point. It's the kind of bleeding ulcer that just never stopped because they've never been able to drag back the media narrative at any point. It's not just bad communications, although the communications are unbelievably shite. It's that they're bad at politics. They don't get it because the McSweeney brand, or whatever you want to call it, was never about governing. It was about getting rid of the fleas. It was just about internal party dominance. And then they got into office and were like, oh shit, now we need to do something. And they just haven't been able to do anything.
I mean, Maurice Glassman literally admitted it just openly. Like, we thought it was just like, oh, people, it was just conspiracy baiting, I guess. No, Maurice Glassman was just on there on Newsnight and said, oh yeah, we didn't think we would have 5 years in opposition. We thought we were there for 10 years. So we had the first 5 years just set out for ridding the Labour Party of anti-Semitism, right?
Nobody expected the Conservatives to disintegrate as they did. In 2019...
Right, but I'm asking about your government now.
No, I get it. What I'm saying is, I mean, I was part of that conversation. We thought we had two terms. You know, the first one was to actually get rid of sort of racist and lunatic politicians in the Labour Party, i.e. the Labour leadership at that time. We had to do a lot of work there. And I think the second term was going to be developing policy. It all happened quick. So, yeah, there isn't a clear direction. There isn't a clear strategy.
Oh, yeah, and then anti-Semitism, naturally, yes.
Yeah, and then they said, well, we thought we'd have later on to prepare policy, and I'm just like, these are the adults, by the way.
What sums up their year is that at one of the Prime Minister's questions, the Chancellor started crying.
I mean, obviously, last year was really all about the winter fuel allowance. You started off this by talking about specifically that the Labour Party are not just bad with policy, but bad at politics. Because they've had some okay policies. Like, it's not all the policies that have been bad. It's just, you know, a great deal of the policies that have been bad, right? Yeah. But when it comes to politics, they are terrible. And it's not just the political decisions, it's the internal stuff as well, because these are all just very green political actors. I mean, we have a Prime Minister who's been an MP since 2015, who never wants to be Prime Minister, and is basically being operated like fucking Orville by Morgan McSweeney, right?
Yeah,
and this really came to a head at just how shambolic the Parliamentary Labour Party kind of setup is, the government setup is, was the run-up to the vote on the disability cuts, right?
Yeah.
Because not only, we all agree that the cuts were fucking monstrous, and it was openly known that hundreds of thousands of disabled people would go into poverty as a result of these changes that were there just to punish people for being disabled. Just make it harder for people who are disabled to get access to welfare because they wanted to penny pinch for the Treasury, which was the explicit plan, by the way. It was specifically about trying to penny pinch for the Treasury, and they openly admitted that this was the case, right? And then they didn't try and corral their MPs around some kind of support for the piece of legislation. They didn't bother getting their ducks in a row to pass this. They're not even bothered talking to the people in the background and say, look, we want to have these concessions on this. They waited until the fucking day of the vote to try and convince MPs and whip MPs, right? You're supposed to prep your MPs for important votes on big kind of marquee policies months in advance. They had 9 months from the announce of the policy for the cuts to PIP between then and the actual vote, which was earlier this year, April time, I believe. Like 9 months, Keir Starmer had barely even spoken to his own MPs. There were plenty of his own MPs never spoken to the fucking guy in his life. Brian Leishman was one of them, and the whip removed, having never spoken to the person that led the government at the time. And in the run-up to this vote, they didn't try and get people to get the votes. And it got to the point where they relented and they conceded on this bill in terms of getting rid of some of the worst PIP cuts. There were still the LTRRA cuts, but they got rid of most of the bad PIP cuts because MPs were just going to rebel, right? They had a giant majority. And there was enough rebels to collapse the government's legislation. It was an absolute fucking shambles. Again, real adults in the room type stuff. And they pulled the legislation on an intervention on someone's contribution to the debate in Parliament about the bill itself, right?
Yeah.
Incredibly famous clip of Ian Lavery saying, "I've never seen anything like it in my time in the House of Commons, where a bill has been amended as part of an intervention to somebody else's debate contribution."
Tell you what, Madam Deputy Speaker, I've been here nearly 15 years. I've never once seen a massive commitment given in a bill like my honourable friend, right honourable friend, the Minister gave in an intervention, in a contribution. This is crazy, man. This is outrageous, man. This bill isn't fit for purpose.
But yeah, Barry Brown pointing out the Sensible's media reaction to the disability cuts not going through was astonishing. The line was literally, "We can't pass anything with a 200-seat majority." I'm like, no, you literally can pass stuff. Just don't be fucking idiots. And know how to whip and prime your MPs before a giant fucking vote. Like, just incredible. Incredibly, apocalyptically poor politicking from the Labour Party at the time.
And it hasn't. It seemingly hasn't improved any. Because they've had the same problems, and a lot of the backbenchers grumbling about the same things. So they're setting themselves up for whenever they do come back and try and do some kind of either PIP change or whatever thing, because they seem intent on out-reforming reform or out-Torying the Tories on something, they're going to probably lose again. Yeah,
and again, they won't do the legwork to either have whipped the MPs or have forced the MPs to make concessions, right? They don't realise that this is a negotiation between them and their backbench. That's always the case. It's always a negotiation between the backbench and the government, right? You can't just tell them to do what you want, because they have constituents who are concerned, right? These people have disabled constituents. They're not going to just vote the way the government tells them because they say so. You just like any negotiation, any sales procedure, as someone who's worked in sales, you go in with a pretty disagreeable opening offer, and then you negotiate down from there. You don't go in with your final fucking offer. You start big and then you go back down. And they just didn't realise it. Yet people thought that's what they were doing, and they weren't doing it. It was like, we want everything here. We want to throw all of the disabled people into wood chippers. And I'm like, well, I have disabled people who don't want to be thrown in wood chippers in my constituency. Tough shit, we're whipping you. What are you going to do to negotiate with me to change this legislation? Nothing. Do what we say. Because they had gotten used to treating the left like that. And the actual people, again, the people who they had fucking rigged selections for, specifically for party loyalty, they couldn't even rig that right, because they rigged it to put a bunch of people in who are like, no, actually, I don't want to murder disabled people, thank you.
Well, because they are still members of the Labour Party, which, however far they've gone from their core values that they used to pretend to have or whatever, they're still, I think, less, they don't enjoy the evil, even if they end up voting for it. So when it comes to something as demonic as that, they really don't want to vote for that, especially when you treat them like shit as well.
Yeah, they do get treated like shit. They literally get treated as if they're just there to rubber stamp fucking, King Keir's legislative agreements. I'm like, no, you are selected by the Labour Party. You are a representative of the members and the Parliamentary Labour Party. You serve them, not the other fucking way around. Although, of course, that's never been the way that Starmer and McSweeney have ever seen it, right? Like, it is ironic that they describe everyone on the left as Trotskyists. They describe the Corbyn leadership, which was very welcoming and very kind of conciliatory to the people who hated them and never wanted to be conciliatory back in the first place, as Stalinist, when they acted like fucking Stalinists the whole time. It was quite literally democratic centralism at Labour Party HQ for the during the Keir Starmer leadership of the party, where it's like, well, you voted for me once, therefore I get to decide literally everything, and if you don't agree, you'll get excommunicated, right? Like, that's it.
Yeah, literally. Okay, here's the one then. Who goes first? Keith or Kevin?
Who's Kevin?
The leader of the opposition, Kevin Badenobbs or something. I don't know who he is.
There's an opposition?
Is it apparently the the ones that sit across the hall from them?
I thought it was Liberal Democrats.
Is it?
I don't
Well,
know.
maybe they could just play 1-on-1 on FIFA then. It'd be fine.
Again, like, yeah, I mean, I think Kemi Badenoch will stick around. People have, for some reason, right? I don't know. I keep seeing this everywhere. I've never seen any actual evidence of this being the case, but people talk about a conservative resurgence because they're up from like 17 to 19% in the polls.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, is this a resurgence for the Conservative Party? It doesn't look like it. You know, this is a party, the kind of the natural party of government that's gotten higher than 35% in basically every election. Even in 1997, they got 33% when they got roasted by Tony Blair, and now they're polling, you know, on average sub 20%. Like, we're back in business. Are you? Are you back in business? Doesn't
No,
look like
it literally even at your resurgence, this would still be the worst result in your history. This would still be absolute fucking wipeout territory. What are you talking about?
That's the thing as well.
It's resurgent in the way that once he's had his arms and legs cut off, the Black Knight in Monty Python is like, "I'll still come back at you. I'll bite your ankles." You know, like it's that level of like resurgence.
Well, I think Keir will be the one to go. And like, this time last year, I wouldn't have in a million years have thought it would be Wes Streeting. Like, the Parliamentary Labour Party aren't really fond of him.
No.
The membership hate him, right? Or at least they did at that point. But two things have happened. First of all, over 100,000 members have left this last year.
That is true.
That's fucking insane, right? An absolute scores of Labour members have just been leaving the party for obvious reasons.
And to be fair, I think what my prediction for next year is that the Greens will surpass Labour in membership.
I think so too. I think you're right. I think that Reform and Greens are the two biggest parties by membership.
Imagine that even a year ago, saying that those would be the two largest parties by membership. Mad, absolutely fucking like it's like we're going to dance on the fucking surface of the sun or something. Like it's insanity. And yet that's where we're going to be in 3 or 4 months.
Well, exactly. And the thing is that now all the 100,000 members that were left, all of those people hate Wes Streeting, right? Every single Labour member who's left the party doesn't like Wes Streeting. So it's only the fucking briefcases left. Like,
sure.
There were briefcases left, and there were, like, you know, open Labour, soft left type people who go, well, anything is better than Keir Starmer. We have to vote for whoever's the most likely to get him out, and we're going to be Wes Streeting, right? And Wes Streeting's like doing his manoeuvres already. They're already doing them. He's already doing his manoeuvres, like talking about how bad it is that Israel's doing things. And like, well, you didn't say this when the genocide started, did you? But regardless,
it does depend, because like, there's no doubt that having been given a pretty decent payout, even though it doesn't equate to even being back to parity with where they should have been before austerity, they were still given a sizable payout when Labour got in. The junior doctors don't have a lot of love in the country, which is strange because they usually would have, but he might be able to actually tough this one out and come out bizarrely looking slightly stronger because of it.
I mean, that probably is the case in terms of the wider public. And I think it may be a way that he'll go to the membership and say, look, if we want to not be seen as being beholden to the unions, even though obviously fucking aren't, right, then you got to vote for me because I can stand up. But I mean, I think you're right that the public perception of the junior doctors is low. I just people just don't understand how real terms pay works.
Well, exactly, yeah, then they don't. But then that's the thing. That's what, you know, the kind of political triangulation is all about, right? It's not what is reality, it's what is the perception of reality. And the public don't like this strike. If he toughs it out and is seen to come out as a winner again, not if he is a winner, just if he is seen to have won that, that puts him in a very strong position. Because let's be honest, Labour are not posting many dubs right now. They're not chalking many up in the W column. So if he's able to put one up on the board, he can say, look, see, I'm a winner. Get rid of this fucking loser. Here I am, you know, which might play in his favour, but ultimately won't make a blind bit of difference because it's going to be the same series of shithouse policies and failure and disaster.
No, and more PFIs and shit like that, right? Like, it's obvious what's going to happen.
And the trans gulags.
Yes, yes, that will be the unfortunate reality of having West Streeting in number 10. But I mean, yeah, it's just crazy to think that I've flipped totally 180. I for a very long time thought that they were grooming Bridget Phillipson to be the heir apparent, right? It's clear that if you want to go full blue Labour, she's the one you go to, you know? Woman from the northeast. It ticks all of the identity boxes of people who don't become leaders of the Labour Party or haven't been the leaders of the, you know, especially when it comes to the kind of background that she's from, who haven't been the leader of the Labour Party since fucking decades and decades ago. So I thought they were lining her up to be the leader, but
True, but like, I mean, this is going to sound mad, but like West Streeting isn't particularly charismatic, but Bridget Phillipson just leaves you cold. Does that make sense? Like, she's not. I don't think she's going to be saleable to the country. West Streeting is a salesman because he's got a funny little smile or whatever, you know.
yeah, I think that's true. But I think as well, I think they've given Bridget Phillipson like a brief that doesn't bode well for being popular amongst the country.
Yeah, true. That is true.
I mean, because West Streeting, it makes sense for them to put West Streeting in this position if they wanted to have him, you know, as the heir apparent to Keir Starmer, because one of the only places they've put lots of money has been the NHS, right? So the one place of the public realm that will definitely see an improvement in terms of delivery is going to be the NHS.
Well, you know who I think is going to be the next Labour leader? He's going to make a shock comeback, I think. He's going to rejoin the party and become leader, George Galloway.
Oh my God, imagine. The true blue Labour.
Hello there, Hannah Reloaded. And thank you for raiding in. Much love. I'm Kevin Logan, socialist from the UK. You can hit the follow button. It's free and makes you 9.8% sexier. That's how it works. It's in the Twitch TOS and everything. Joining me is No Justice MTG, who you should also go and follow.
You should. Please do.
Yeah. They are also a person from the UK, but don't hold that against them. Okay.
We have to live here. Think how we feel.
Exactly, yeah. Look, we have to live on Garbage Island with the garbage people. Quite literally in my city, because there's a fucking bin strike that's been going on damn near all fucking year. And we now have an army of T-Rex sized rats stalking the landscape, picking off the weakest.
Well, I mean, speaking of the even more Labour failures of this year, I think this has to rank really highly as one of the most kind of disgraceful things that the Labour Party have been doing all this time.
Yeah, I think so, actually, yeah. Yeah, it started in, was it April or March, I think?
March it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, just gone on all fucking year. And for the new people, they literally, I joke about them being T-Rex size, but the stories of massive rats, because we've got huge piles of fucking rubbish everywhere because it's not being collected, to the point where not only did they have the bin strikers on strike, but the scabs they brought in to replace them also went on strike. They lost 2 lots of binmen. How are you that shit? You lost 2 workforces. That's mental.
And the trade union is fucking affiliated to the party running the council.
The trade union has a Labour government nationally and a Labour council, both asking their own members to cross their picket line. And they're paying them money for the privilege. I don't know, like, it's not even cuckoldery. At least the cuck gets to be in the fucking room. They're in the hallway having to listen to it. They don't even get to watch.
Yeah, it's such a fucking disgrace. It's a fucking disgrace.
Hang on, I've got that. There we go, bro. It really, yeah. It's oh my God, it's so embarrassing, and that's why I mean, at time of recording, we're going to have elections in May here in Birmingham, and the Labour Party are going to get absolutely fucked on. Not only would they already be in significant danger because of the National Party and how badly that's affecting things, but locally, like, I think people would rather lynch them than vote for them. I think there are probably decent Labour councillors who really care and want to do things properly who are going to get fucked by the fact that nationally and locally the Labour Party are so scummy that their chance of being re-elected this year is 0, or next year.
I mean, yeah, that is the big kind of prediction for next year. It's just how badly Labour are going to get hammered at the local elections, and also worth pointing out the Tories will get hammered too. There aren't as many Tory defences in a lot of. A lot of the councils which are going through organisations who are having their elections cancelled are Tory councils too. So it's probably going to be an even bigger percentage of the ones that are now Labour defenders.
Unfortunately, it's going to be Reform that will replace them in a lot of cases. But I can genuinely see the Tories being all but wiped out in Birmingham, because again, no one wants them. Even the Tories who live here don't want the Tories. So they're going to end up with, you know, several Reform councillors, and it'd be interesting to see. I think it'll go to no overall control. I think it'll be like a 5-way split between Labour. There'll probably be a few Tories. The Greens should make some gains, although maybe not massive gains here. Whoever missed out.
I was looking
Democrats,
at...
and there'll be a significant number of independents based upon both Palestine, and there'll probably be like a Workers' Party or two, one of those types, you know. Yeah.
Or just NIMBYs.
Yeah, basically, yes. Yeah.
There might just be a NIMBY party. I mean, like, I was looking at some of the predictions, and there were some. I think it might have been Hodge Hill, or maybe it was Selly Oak actually, which was predicted to be like, with the Greens could potentially win those. Seats in Westminster.
Yeah, at Westminster. Yeah, Selly Oak, which is the seat I live in, was predicted in a couple of the polls to go to the Greens. But one of the big winners from this year, unfortunately, has been Nigel Farage. And the Reform
ever since the May elections, they've been going from strength to strength. It has kind of peeled back recently. Like, the racism scandal has kind of hit. But really, honestly, I think we can all agree that the turning point for this year, where Reform UK started losing, was when they got spurned by Big John.
True. Big John coming out as not a massive racist. Really fucking
we heard the greatest phrase ever uttered on BBC Newsnight in history. The phrase, "I'm associated with Chinese takeaways."
True.
Can we get Bosch in chat? Bosch is in chat now.
Bosch. Yeah. Does that count? Does that count as foreign influence? If he's connected with Chinese takeaways, I don't know.
But either way, like, just him, like, literally saying, I was going to vote Reform because I wanted to do a protest vote because I hate the two main parties. And then I just realised that Yusuf and Nigel Farage are massive racists. And I'm like, yeah, woke is back, guys. Woke is so fucking back.
True. Although, having watched the World Championship, fucking Gerwyn Price, the Welshman, came out and said he was going to vote for Reform in the by-election in Caerphilly. And I was just like, oh, that's such a shame. Because I liked him. He's a mouthy cunt. He's a gobby fucker. But he's also very good. And I'm glad he got knocked out in the second round. Because he's a reform prick. Fuck him. And so I can't support him ever again now. It's a shame. But there we go.
Yeah. Honestly, Big John's, like, hero arc has been incredibly wholesome.
It just reminds you that actually most people are probably just a bit normal, really.
I mean, everyone, like, it's just there. We only ever hear the stories of people getting mad on because with the contentious shit that gets pushed on, like, Twitter. And most people actually are not dickheads. Most people are not dickheads.
Yeah, exactly. They might believe things you don't necessarily like and hold really odd opinions about.
Big John is right wing. Like he supported the Conservative Party because he believes in capitalism and he believes in, like, free market economics and shit like that. And of course, I disagree with all of these things. He didn't like Jeremy Corbyn because he was a socialist. I'm like, we have completely opposite politics. But look, the basic thing we should agree on is, like, racism is bad. I mean, he passes the woke test on that.
Yeah, exactly. Look. 2025 was the year that they declared woke dead, and woke, like the Undertaker, stuck its hand out of the coffin and grabbed culture by the neck and came back to life. Zombie woke. Let's go.
Absolutely. We have woke the white has arisen from the ashes of woke the grey.
So you had to make it nerdy, didn't you?
I was either going with that. I was going to go with we'd rolled away the stone of the tomb of woke.
Well, that would be at least I suppose. Christmas is about birth rather than his death, but Jesus thematic.
And it was really heartwarming to see him go down there and try and corral people's support for this takeaway that had been attacked by racists. Yeah, no, that is nice. And it's just a guy who loves his food. Lovely takeaway, simple as.
Yeah, simple as. Bosh. Is Nigel Farage going to become Prime Minister? Not next year, obviously, but like at some point. Cause...
I mean, yeah, of course he is. We will have a Prime Minister who once said "hawk to it on that bussy till it claps" on Cameo.
We all promise to hawk to it on your bussy as it claps. And this message, James, is sponsored by Sam, Matthew, Finn, and Mo Lester.
Well, don't make me like him. What are you doing?
I'll tell you who set up the Ra as well.
He did up the Ra, Nigel. This is so often the case. A strength can be a weakness, and a weakness can be a strength. The Reform Party is so reliant on him as a figure and that's worked for them so far because he's sort of seen as charismatic and for some reason he's popular. I'm not entirely sure why. But if something happens to him, and I don't mean that in like some sort of horrible, like Charlie Kirk-esque way. I mean, like if there's something in his private life, or like if the Russia thing actually gets back to him or something, you know, if they find out he took money surreptitiously from Moscow or something, that party is basically dead. Well, no, it's not dead. It's dead as it's not. Look, without him, they are not going to form a government.
No, 100%. 100%.
That.
That's like, because you can tell they've been trying to incubate future talent because they know that Nigel Farage's political career will not last forever. Yeah. And they keep trying
he is old, you know, he's not a young man anymore,
No, he isn't. And they keep trying, the talent they try and incubate, there is no talent. These people are fucking, like, not only are the political opinions insane, but also just, like, extremely unlikable. Like, Wazir Yusuf he reeks of slime. He's the slimiest man in politics.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't trust him. I would never turn my back on him.
I literally,
awful.
And like Sarah Pochin, just again, all it is the dregs of the weirdos from the Conservative Party, and she's like the peak of the crop.
30p Lee.
I mean, 30p Lee has always been a grift, like moving from party to party based on who's successful. Labour then.
Well, no, but the point being is that that's the talent they have, quote unquote.
Yeah, again, like just the fucking the backwash from the rest of the political parties. Like Sarah Pochin, just like such a fucking like wingnut. She's like, "Oh, I hate seeing black and Asian people on telly," and I'm just like, yeah, like obviously it's a party of racists, right?
Yeah, it's pretty racist. Yeah.
But like the Conservative Party's year has also been extremely weird. One of my best of segments from this year was talk about like what the fuck has happened to Robert Jenrick. This is the year where Conservative Party ministers got on the internet and on Twitter and radicalised themselves into fascism.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think he was always a fascist. I just think he's now decided he's allowed to let his freak flag fly. Like they've decided they're not going to. And actually, there was a good example of this. I was listening to a thing the other day about how the Conservative Friends of Israel, like, would never, under previous leaders, even under Boris Johnson, they wouldn't let them go to like Likud events when they held in London because they didn't want it to be associated with them. Whereas now there were over 200 to either sitting or former Conservative MPs at the Conservative Friends of Israel Likud event in London because they don't care anymore. They're not going to pretend to be a centre ground party anymore, which is probably the wise political move, but is also despicable.
I don't think it is a good political move either. I mean, Rory Stewart was saying this for all people. Like, there is only one space for a right-wing political party, and it's going to be the one that hasn't been tainted by 15 years of failure, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's just as simple as that. Like, they're not going to get away from the fact that the voting bases will only care about immigration, and the Conservative Party have got 14 years of governance where they said they would bring it down and never did. So there's nothing that they can do by going to the right. They should go to the Lib Dems and try and fight them.
Well, I mean, I know what you mean, but the problem is there aren't any voters there. Now, this is what I mean. I know, tactically, I know what you mean there, but in terms of the only chance they have of actually surviving is potentially trying to take on Reform and trying to win. They won't win, naturally, because they're hull below the waterline, they're sinking. They're the Titanic. It's over. But there actually are voters there. Like this centre ground, this is where the kind of Blairist old new Labour, if you can imagine such a thing, people are completely wrong about this. I think the only person I think I've heard from that old guard who's got it right would actually be war criminal himself, Alistair Campbell, who seems to have realised that that centre ground has been largely vacated by the populace because of the extreme times in which we live and the economic precarity of it all. So you have room on the left, which I think is being absorbed largely by the Green Party, although your party might get in on the act at some point. On the right, you have obviously Reform and the Tories moving that way. And I mean, I suppose to a degree, Labour moving that way as well. The centre ground has been vacated because there aren't votes there. No one wants it. The Cox, the Change UK people tried it and were wiped out to a man, woman, child, mineral, vegetable, everything. They don't exist anymore. They literally don't exist because no one wants that shit. Look, this was the same problem with Brexit. Trying to sell a populace on the status quo when they fucking hate the status quo doesn't work.
It's so true, so true.
Trying to be continuity when everyone fucking hates the state of things. No one's voting for that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was this delusional thing. Like, I remember it's in 2023 or 2022, I think it was. Maybe it was 2022. Some FT columnist was just like, and they've been going, oh, well, the UK's populism moment is over. We had Brexit, that's happened, and now we're back to mainstream politics.
By the end of the year, the UK is going to appear as one of the more stable countries because we essentially have gone through our era of populism. I'm not being complacent. We could have another wave, but we've gone through our populism. We had Brexit. And I think now we have essentially two parties sort of I think business can live with.
Like, how fucking delusional are these people? Do they not see the state of the world? Of course the populism moment isn't ending because the material conditions that created it have only gotten worse since, right? Like, we're in prime radicalization territory, declining Western powers in the face of the rise of China and the global South. We're seeing breakdowns in terms of peace in Europe, breakdown of NATO. We're seeing the economies, especially in Europe, is kind of faltering and kind of stagnating broadly, aging horribly, so that their actual working age populations are tiny in comparison to their retired generations everywhere across the Anglosphere. Yeah, of course these countries are going to be in decline. It's going to lead to turbulent times politically, and that's not going away.
I think what's really telling about this discussion, if you'll allow me to get a bit meta for a second,
Go for it.
Is that you can tell how badly this year has gone for the Conservative Party, because even though you tried specifically to interject the Conservative Party into the discussion, we instantly stopped talking about them because they're not relevant. They're not relevant to anything. They're not a going concern.
Things, they're not politically relevant. They're politically interesting, though. It is really politically interesting
to
discuss what's happened to them, right? Like, you can tell that they're just not made for these kind of days, right? They're not made for this kind of era of politics. For multiple reasons. First of all, because they don't get what people are mad about right now, because they're all posh wankers who've never wanted for anything in their life, right? Like, these people have lived incredibly privileged upbringings, and so they don't get it, right? You in the middle of a cost of living crisis, like we joked about it, but I think it's really serious how out of touch they are. Well, when there was a cost of living crisis, they're banging about the Chagos Islands.
But literally, why would they care about the cost of living crisis when they've never cared about the cost of anything? Because they've never had to. They're the kind of people who can go into a shop and they don't have to check whether they can afford things.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it doesn't concern them. So the Chagos Islands is really important to them, or whether someone eats steak or a sandwich for lunch is really important to them, or what David Tennant said on Twitter is very important to them.
Trans people existing in general, like
it's
not of importance to most people.
Yeah, exactly. Like literally, that's the point. People who run on this shit, like even in countries, let's just keep it to the West. Even in countries where support for trans people isn't that high, no one has it down as though their first thing. No one has it as their number one
not even
priority.
Close, yeah.
Like it's not, it doesn't make the top 5 for everyone outside of like people who live in mouldy castles, I suppose. No one cares about it. So trying to run on it doesn't fucking work.
And it's just interesting to watch how many people from the Conservative Party have just been radicalised on Twitter. Like, that's what happened to Kemi Badenoch, right? Like, she lives on Twitter. There was a really funny story in the New Statesman about how Kemi Badenoch goes and decompresses by just shutting herself and locking herself in her car and just scrolling Twitter while she's on, like, the campaign trail and shit. Like, she's a deeply terminally online person. It's why she doesn't get what normal people are like. Robert Jenrick's, that happened to him, obviously, with him banging on about integration and all the kind of stuff where he's just weirdly attacked, like, brown people and stuff like the weird Alan Partridge video we watched of him going, this is a video games controller, like just really weird esoteric stuff that no one really cares about because he's seen it on his Twitter feed and got mad about it.
And attacking Birmingham. Birmingham was a bit of a whipping boy this year for the Conservatoids because we got some brown people and we're not like really mad about that.
It's so true. And Oh, David Frost, like Lord David Frost of all people, right? Going, oh well, I think you need to learn about the UK thing, IYOOKAY, right? If you want to learn about the UK phenomenon, i.e., things are not exactly the same as the nostalgic vision of Britain I remember from the 1970s and 60s, you know, which is basically all of these people's politics in a nutshell. And to learn more about this, you can follow this Twitter meme account, which is Druckbekannly, like this fascist account that just constantly tweets about how non-homogenous societies are bad. And it's like, oh yeah, so this guy has been radicalized by Twitter meme accounts. That is the world of conservative politics. People bored, just making themselves angry on Twitter.
Genuinely, the meme of there was a generation of people who told us not to take everything on TV seriously, who now have become fascist because of Facebook memes. It literally has happened. That's not just a joke. That's a sociological phenomena that's taken place there. Literally, they've gone, oh well, there's a Facebook meme of it says here this person was arrested for saying they're English and saying that white people exist. I must instantly vote for Nigel fucking Hitler. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's like people defending Lucy Connolly. Like, just
Yeah.
no one. It's not defensible. Like again, you can say that maybe what happened was bad, right? The way she was treated by the justice system wasn't ideal, right? And we had an interesting discussion about this between us on stream, right? But like, people thought that she was somehow some kind of martyr for saying that people should be burned alive, right? And I'm like, no, burning people alive is bad, by the way. And that's because again, you have to be Twitter brained to think this, in the same way that Kemi Baylock has to be Twitter brained to, you know, be so obsessed with trans people. In her, we joked about the Doctor Who comment.
You need someone like me who's not afraid of Doctor Who or whoever, and who's going to take the fight to them and not let them try and keep us down.
That was in her pitch video. To be leader of the Conservative Party, she was pitching herself to be like the leader of the opposition and the mother of all parliaments. And she thought, well, if I talk about Doctor Who, people will know what I'm talking about. No, they really won't. People won't have a fucking clue what you're talking about.
Well, she knows that the anti-Doctor Who constituency, that's big in Britain. That's a big thing. She's going after the anti-Doctor Who vote.
It's just so fucking funny to me watching them just lose their minds, because they can't cope with not being in power because that's the natural party of government, and they can't cope with being a dead political party. It's sending them insane.
Well, hang on. You know, Doctor Who regenerates. Does that mean does she think that the character is trans?
One can only assume so.
You know, they've transitioned like 13 times now. Unbelievable.
And also, the year before, the fucking national anthem changed its pronouns, which is very woke.
It's very woke. We shouldn't have any pronouns, okay? Pronouns are evil. Honestly, having to explain to conservatives what a pronoun is, because they've just been told pronouns are bad, and they don't know what that word means. And you just don't. It's like a verb or a noun. It's just a part of a language. Like, you can't get rid of pronouns. What the fuck does that even mean? You're speaking English now. You just use the word I. You know, that's a pronoun. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Yes, it fucking is. Oh, God. Anyway.
It literally, again, at the heart of conservatism is things are different and me no likey. That's basically it half the time, you know?
Yeah.
Like they go, well, the country's just changed. It's not what I like. Yeah, countries do change. In the same way that when you were growing up in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't the same as the 50s and the 40s. Yeah, countries develop and change over time. Just because what's changing is instead of like the architectural style or the kind of food that's served, it's the colours of the faces that you see. And you're like, well, why? Again, like you say, well, it's a different kind of difference. I mean, yeah, it's a different kind of difference because your motivation for thinking it's different is racism, right?
Yeah. Well, John Cleese's thing of like, London isn't, I don't see it as a British city anymore. It's not like the London I grew up in. Yeah, you grew up in the fucking 50s. Yeah, what do you mean? Do you think it was the same 50 years before that? Or 50 years before that? No, everything changes. Also, dickhead, you live in Barbados. Shut the fuck up.
So true. So true. I just, honestly, again, like someone pointing out, like, the Twitter brain poison's gone so far, like Piers Morgan got attacked on Twitter for saying he would give up an ethnically homogenous society for curry. And I'm like, this is the thing that they say, well, we need to go back to ethnic homogeneity. Why? Why do you need to do this? I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
you think
why?
you want to give this up for curry? And I'm like, well, I don't value the thing that you're saying that I should value. So your answer to me, your question to me is, do I want to have curry or no curry? Obviously, I want curry.
Well,
Who the fuck doesn't want curry?
I'll go further. I'd give it up for nothing because I don't care. I hold it with zero value. So to me, giving it up isn't anything. I don't see that I've lost anything.
No, exactly.
There's no trade here. It's basically we get curry and we give nothing up for it. Win-win.
Yeah.
Perfect. I couldn't give a fuck. Ethnic homogeneity can suck my anus. I don't care. It's not a thing of any value to me whatsoever.
And again, because their idea of ethnic homogeneity is literally just the color of people's faces. That's literally it.
Yeah,
Like, no one ever complained when it was people who were with white skin who grew up, like the historic Italian families in London or whatever, who run like this famous like breakfast like cafe in London, Carluccio's, and it's an Italian family moved during the 1800s, like passed down for generations or whatever it is. And I'm just like, you never complain about those. I'm like, well, it's not the same. I'm like, yeah, I know it's not the same. It's because you're a racist. That's it. That's the thing that's different in this dynamic that's going on here. It's just, and again, it's just frustrating to deal with these people.
It really is. It really is. But you know what's not frustrating? The fact that the Green Party have done very well this year.
Oh my god, I mean, it's been a real meteoric rise. And again, I kept saying to people, in every video I did about why the Green Party were doing bad, like, they're too nice, they don't do good social media, and they don't have a coherent narrative or message. And then Zach Polanski came on, who started fights, who had a coherent message, and was very good with social media, doubled themselves in the polls, like, almost overnight.
Also, shout out, hello, Zach. We know you're listening, mate. Hello. You all right? How you getting on? You enjoying your cycle? Good lad. Good lad.
I honestly feel like at this point, I feel like the Green Party's kind of political strategy is like this baby that I was incubating for like 2022 till 2024, and then all the people who've kind of been brought into this kind of political movement, again, whether it's through me or not, obviously it's only a small minority that through me, but broadly there's this kind of the lefty marketers have all been kind of coalescing around trying to make the Green Party a vehicle that's worth supporting, and it's all just kind of come to fruition. It really does feel vindicating.
I think everyone should give some big ups to No Justice, because like you have been a significant part of this, I think, and also like you went on the podcast with Zach Polanski, right? And now Gary Lineker's going on it, to which you have to say, stay in your fucking lane, Lineker. Okay, just because No Justice did it, now all of a sudden it's cool and fashionable. Now Lineker wants in. Get wrecked, mate. No, I'm only playing. No, he's pulling in some good names. It's good stuff. And now, of course, now he's not working for the BBC. He doesn't have to bite his tongue all the fucking time.
Exactly.
And look,
exactly.
This is the thing, right? For all of the nonsense people talk about, he got paid so much by the BBC. He's earning like 3 times that amount in the private sector now. Like, the BBC doesn't pay out massive wages compared to what all of these people can earn. You do that because you want to work for the BBC. The BBC is exceptionally good value for money, even if, let's be honest, some of its news coverage is dog shit.
Oh yeah, and it's a really important cultural artifact, which is why I have been so infuriated by people from both sides who want to destroy it. And I'm like, yeah, you think that it's bad, but if it would be worse if it wasn't there. Like, it should be nurtured and fixed rather than specifically being denigrated for not being ideal. I mean, nothing is ideal, you know, but would it be worse if we were like America, where all news is partisan? Yes, it would be significantly worse.
True.
Yeah, like the Green Party is interesting insofar as the Labour Party have recognised that the Green Party are biting on their heels, and it's been really funny looking at the ways in which they're attacking the Greens and how it's all failed. Everything has failed, right? Because their attack lines have mostly been on national security grounds, which most Green voters don't care about. And the second thing they've done is just try and say, well, the Green Party isn't serious. Steve Reed called them wacky and then called them dangerous because he realised that the first insult didn't land and then the next one didn't land. And it's because they just don't have any lines other than go, we are the sensible adults in the room. Because that's all of their politics. That's literally all their politics.
But have you considered Hypnoboob?
Literally, that's all they've got. It's all they've got is hypnoboob. Just offer good policy. Offer good policy to people, and they will not move to parties of the populist left.
Well,
This
is the thing. Not only has the Green Party done very well in terms of membership, and I'm sure we'll pick up seats in May, and are now targeting more than 40 seats at the next general election, which would be fucking incredible. What I think this is the point we've made throughout the year, that you don't have to be in office to have power. Nigel Farage is the man dictating government policy, and he has 5 or 6 MPs, depending on which one of them has been done for sexual assault or battery or some sort of financial crime or something, on any given Tuesday. And so you've definitely seen the Labour Party, like, there's no way they'd have scrapped the 2-child benefit cap if it weren't for the Green Party's resurgence. I don't think they'd have done many of those kind of more progressive, or let's say less regressive things that they did in the budget without the Green Party. And if you end up with 20, 30, 40 seats, you can be kingmaker in a hung parliament.
100%, 100%. Because you know that the Reform Conservative coalition will be close to the majority kind of level in terms of how many seats that they get. It's going to be a real kind of bum squeaker at the next election. One would expect. We expect the polls to kind of sort of normalise rather than just be way ahead for Reform like they are right now. It's 3 years away, isn't it? It's difficult to speculate. But you say 40 seats in the kind of split support base, assuming first past the post, means that they will need the entire traffic light to be able to pass a King's speech.
Yeah,
they will need to get votes from the Lib Dems, the SNP, and the Green Party, and that will be the only coalition that will ever get formed, right? Because it will have to be Tories and Reform, and I don't think they'll get enough seats together.
Yeah, basically. So we'll wait and see on that. But either way, like, Zach Polanski has been a genuine breath of fresh air. I watched his Christmas message. Firstly, the fact that he put it out at the same time as the King is beautiful.
Real rage bait, true rage bait hour. So
they were so arse-pained about it. It was fucking brilliant. And again, they don't seem to realise, in the same way that the and I've got the T-shirt over there of the New York Post front page of Zohra Mamdani with the hammer and sickle. Like, that's dope. Like, that's some shit that I would have on a T-shirt, and I literally fucking do. Right? They don't realise, in the modern age of political dialogue, especially with younger people. And when I say young people, I mean people like under 50, basically. The majority, I think, although not necessarily the voting majority. All the taglines don't work anymore. They're just trying to go with the same lines that worked, in the 1990s or the 1980s, isn't going to fucking fly anymore.
Nope.
And so no one cares that he put it out at the same time as the King. But the people who want to vote for Zach Polanski and are potentially going to vote for Zach Polanski like the fact that he boiled the piss of those people. That's the beautiful thing. Hang on, we've got a noise thing. 1 second. The fact that he boiled their piss was enough. That's it. Brilliant. Fantastic. It works. That's exactly what people want him to be. They want him to be a disruptor. He's not just going to go with the flow. He's not just going to do everything that you're supposed to do. No, fuck that noise. Why should the King be given some sort of seat of reverence? He's a fucking wanker protecting his paedophile brother. No one cares. He's a prick.
I think it's quite interesting as well that we seem to be living in the kind of 2016 era trigger the libs period, but the other way around, right? Zach Polanski's noticed this. I think it's really interesting, right? So what Zach Polanski has done to be able to raise his salience is successfully bait the right-wing press.
Yes.
And it's a really positive feedback loop in that the right-wing press will write a dumb hit piece about him, which is totally fucking stupid and nonsensical, but whatever, right? And he'll post about it on social media going, lol, look at this dickhead from the Times, right? Aren't they rattled? Yeah. No actual meaningful engagement with any of the actual written material, because why the fuck would you? It's the Telegraph and the Times. None of these people have anything important that anyone needs to hear. So just mock them openly. And that means people click through to the article, gets them click-through rate, and like, oh, people like the Zach Polanski stuff, we would like another one. And that they post another article to get more rage bait and to get more engagement, which means Zach Polanski mocks them again and it raises his profile again. It's this positive feedback loop, which which benefits specifically Zach Polanski, because any publicity is good publicity.
Well, he
is living on rage bait.
Yeah. People said, why is he launching a podcast? Well, in an age where the media aren't going to give you that platform, it's your own. And he's done that with the podcast, but he's also done it with, like you say, every time one of them mentions him, he wins. Bizarrely, even if they're saying like he's literally Hitler, he can come out and just make fun of them, and that's what the people who already support him want from him, because they want him to take the piss out of these people. Again, I think as a direct response to the owning the libs thing, where like the old attitude of, well, if they go low, we go high. No, fuck that noise. You want to fucking scrap? Let's go, you pricks, right?
Yep.
Let's have you. That's all I want. I want a politician with some fucking spine. And Keir Starmer is the most spineless cunt I've ever seen in my life. Zach Polanski's got a bit about him. And that's all people really want, is someone who looks like they give a fuck. And he's got it. And so I watched that thing on Christmas, and it was fucking brilliant, because he's the only politician who's saying anything like that. There's no one else, because all they are, these fucking Westminster drones, is triangulation machines. They take what they think the public want to hear, and they'll just say any old shit. Whereas Zach Polanski has an opinion on something. Zach Polanski believes in something, and he's prepared to fucking fight for it. And that's all I want from a guy. I don't care if he's fucking perfect. He's not perfect. Who cares? I want him to succeed so fucking badly, because he's a genuine breath of fresh air. I love it.
Absolutely, I think you're 100% bang on the money, and people will gravitate towards it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Again,
yeah.
like, why would you, at a time at which, you know, there is real societal entropy at the moment? Things are not cohesive. It is entropic, is the way I would describe society at the moment. And you want to know that your politicians have a vision, have beliefs, have a drive, have a world that they would like to build and what they would like to see. And whilst Nigel Farage's world he wants to see is fucking insane and miserable and terrifying, right? At least he believes in it. And likewise to Zach Polanski and his far more, you know, hopeful, you know, vision of a better world. Does Keir Starmer believe any of these? No, he doesn't. But fucking no. And if he's told you that he believed in something, would you believe him? Also, no.
Well, exactly. Yeah, like. Not only is Keir Starmer like just a fucking liar, but he doesn't have any grounding at all. Like he was happy to keep those kids in poverty for 18 months, and now lauds the policy that has been changed by, let's be honest, by the Politburo, of which he is merely the mouth, the puppet that the hand goes up the arse of. And now says, oh, it's so fantastic we brought these kids out of poverty. You don't believe anything, do you? You honestly don't believe a fucking thing, mate. And people can see through it. Like, I always think about these Westminster bastards. Like, do they honestly think people are buying into this? Because they must look at the polling numbers and realise that they're not, surely. And yet they carry on with the same shit.
I think the real nadir when it came to them thinking that all of the people they want to vote for them are gullible fucking idiots, right, is when they put all of the flags on all of the Labour Party campaign material, on all of the posters, on all of the membership cards, and I'm just like, do you think people who are, you know, avowed patriots, who have some reverence for the flag, again, I don't understand it, but it's clear that they do and it's close to their heart, nationalism and patriotism are, you know, somewhat intertwined with their political beliefs, and Labour Party want them to vote for them, so they're just slapping the flag on things. And was it Vet Cooper said, I have Union Jack bunting in my house, 5 different types, actually.
Do you have a flag on display in your home, on your home?
Yeah. We actually have Union Jack bunting on our garden shed at the moment. I've got St George's flags, I've got St George's bunting, I've got the Yorkshire Rose bunting as well. I've got Union Jack flags and tablecloths. We've got the lot.
No one fucking believes you.
That was a highlight. That was a highlight.
It really was. It really was a highlight.
Or no, or him tweeting out, I support flags.
I'm a supporter of flags, or Mike Tapp's English breakfast tweet. Like, it's just like, it's just so pathetic. No one believes you. If you believed any of these things genuinely, you would have believed it 5 minutes before, at least 5 minutes before people started putting up flags everywhere, rather than waiting until that became a thing and jumping on the fucking bandwagon.
Like, I
Everyone
genuinely
sees
think
through it.
It should be if a minister makes claims like that, what should happen is they get locked in the room with no communication with the outside, and a court-appointed person gets to break into their house and take pictures to show whether they were telling the truth or not. I guarantee she hasn't got a single bit of Union Jack bunting in her fucking house. And why would you? That would be gross and weird.
It would be weird, wouldn't it? But they just say it. They say anything. Just thinking that everyone whose vote that they want to court is actually fucking brain dead, like an actual fucking troglodyte. They think that these people will just believe anything politicians say when it's obvious they're lying. We all know they're lying. Everyone knows Keir Starmer's a liar. Like, remember that Savanta poll we pulled up? This was even before this year, but it was last year, where it just like this huge word in the middle, it's emblazoned liar. Like even the rude, even the swear words were tiny in comparison.
But I do love the word. The word was there quite large. Like it wasn't like vanishingly small.
Honestly, they just believe everyone is a gullible idiot, and no one believes you because again, you would have believed this before now, and it's the same as true with the 2-child benefit cap. When they go from we have to support it, there'll be an economic collapse if we don't keep the 2-child benefit cap. Because there'll be a run on the pound, according to Lucy Powell or whatever it was, and the 2-child with winter fuel payments as well. That's why that's a means tester. Because there'll be a run on the pound. Nonsense. Obviously, it's a tiny amount of money in terms of public spending, and then they suspend the whip from 7 MPs over the 2-child benefit cap stuff, and then they spin on a dime just magically as soon as the Green Party is polling highly to their left. And I'm just like, yeah, like it's obvious that you guys were just lying the whole time, and you just take every single position, as you say, as you quite rightly and astutely pointed out, as a triangulation machine rather than as a politician who believes in anything. Because, again, these people believe that politics isn't actually about having beliefs, it's about playing a game. It's a fucking, it's a... Again, you're triangulating it within politics as well as outside of it.
Do you think Keith's leadership will survive if Labour gets punished in elections in Scotland and Wales?
Obviously, we've been talking about like what a year it's been for certain political parties. What a good segue here to talk about the parties of the constituent nations of the United Kingdom. We were discussing before about Keir Starmer's future as the Labour leader, and like, well, his leadership can't last past the local elections because they get hammered in the councils. I'm like, I actually think that the biggest thing that will contribute to the ousting of Keir Starmer will be losing Wales.
Oh yeah,
and Labour losing Wales is again like the Labour Party dies without Wales. That's
absolutely.
That's where the party kind of it's born. Its roots are in Wales.
Its roots are in Wales, especially in the kind of industrial or former industrial belt of South Wales. If you look at every election, even bad elections, they always won those seats. They won the seats around Cardiff, Llanelli, Swansea, the Newport, these kind of places. There was a big red belt in the south of Wales where lots of people lived because that's where big cities are and that's where industry is and so on and so forth. And there's always like one big green bit where Clyde Cymru won, but it's like no one lives there. So it's all fields and mountains and stuff. Similarly with like big patches of orange in Scotland. Anyway, the point being, they could always rely on, 20 seats from, various parts like that. It was a kind of smaller version of the red wall, so to speak. And with that gone, they're literally like, it's impossible for them. Without those seats of South Wales, without the seats of the kind of central belt of Scotland, without that northern red wall, they can't win. They cannot form a government. And they might not be an ongoing concern, frankly. They might actually be a dying party.
I mean, I think that's true, and I think they wouldn't form a government because I don't think anyone can form a government now. The parties and the political calculus is so split.
Oh yeah, but I just meant in general, like even in normal times, they've never been able to form a government without those seats.
100%. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely 100% correct. But there's like this real kind of spiritual death of the Labour Party if it loses Wales. They lost councils in England, but they kept Wales. I think maybe Keir Starmer could potentially hang on because of just how disastrous it would be for them to have to change leader. But they are in like terminal, we're sending the Labour Party off to the hospice if they lose Wales. And they're not just going to lose Wales. They're going to come third, and not like a close third either. They're going to be almost as dead as the Conservative Party in Wales, who are also, again, like, interesting how irrelevant they are to the conversations about the political happenings of the last year. There's just an afterthought. Again, the Conservative Party gained seats in Wales in 2017 and in 2019, and they might have 0 in both the Senedd and in Westminster by the end of this Parliament.
Talking about being their sort of Labour Party spiritual home, I imagine that the three ghosts that visited Keir Starmer, the ghost of Christmas past must have been an Ira and Bevan, just saying, "What the fuck have you done to my party, you Tory? I fucking hate you." You are the vermin of which I spoke. Ultimately, they deserve it. They actually deserve it. Even if the people who replace them are reform and it gets worse or whatever, these fucking need to be taught a lesson. They need to be given not just a bloody nose, they need to be given their P45 from history. Leave.
In a total ritual international humiliation is what Keir Starmer and Morgan McSweeney need, because they won't learn otherwise.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll learn anyway, but like this is necessary. It's necessary for them to get humiliated and obliterated and smashed into 1,000 tiny pieces, and then the tiny pieces set on fire. Like, that's the reality of what is necessary to be able to give these people the kick up the arse they need to reshape the party back to what it should be.
Well, not just that, but to give a sort of echo through history of like. Firstly, killing the kind of centrist Blairite New Labour era completely. Like, it's already dead, but like they don't seem to realise it's dead. This will absolutely put it to bed, so to speak. And secondly, to teach future generations that this kind of technocratic, paint by numbers type government will not survive. Like it can't work. So don't do it. You need to actually give people a reason to vote for you, and they haven't done that for, well, certainly the entirety of this prick's leadership,
Yeah, 100%. And whilst we're talking about Wales as well, it's worth pointing out the people who are going to be usurping them in Wales, and I think who probably will come first in the Senedd. They probably won't come first in Westminster because of the dynamics of voting there, but in the Senedd, Plaid Cymru, they're going to be the people in charge in Wales. They've had an absolute barnstorming year, a real barnstormer, and not only will the Caerphilly by-election, which was a real kind of turning point in the usurping of Labour by Plaid Cymru, because they're a party who actually care about Wales, right? Like, they are going to use that as a springboard to do very well in the Senedd elections and become the biggest party there and represent Wales as a Welsh party, right? And that will also give them the impetus to change the electoral calculus for the tactical vote in Westminster. Once they have proven that they are the mainstream centre-left party for Welsh voters, every centre-left Welsh person is going to say, well, I can't allow Nigel Farage to be appointed, so I've got to vote for Plaid Cymru. They did in Caerphilly, to the point where Labour got 10% in what has been a seat that's sometimes had like 60 or 70% Labour vote in the not-so-recent past. And so in Westminster, you may see Labour with no seats in Wales and Plaid Cymru with the most seats, which was unthinkable. Not even 5 years ago, this was unthinkable. They will be the thorn in Labour's side that forces them to stop telling their own base that they are vermin who should be hunted for sport, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like you say, it's once it reaches that tipping point when the Labour Party can't realistically say you have to vote for us to stop reform because voting for you helps reform. The Labour Party are the vote splitters at that point, and that tipping point is almost impossible for Labour to come back from. Really, they're not going to be the Socialist Party that the people who are voting for Plaid Cymru or are voting for the Greens or are voting for the SNP want them to be.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and again, I guess the proof will be in the pudding when it comes to how they govern. When Plaid Cymru are in charge, it'll be interesting to see. I'll be following that closely.
And of course, I mean, as with councils, like the scope you have. I mean, obviously, in the Assembly, it's a bit more than a council. But the point being, you're hamstrung by Westminster bullshit, especially when you have literally already a Labour national government undermining the Labour Welsh government by enforcing new buildings in I forget which part of the country it's in. Anyway, against the will of the Welsh Parliament. Literally overturning devolution settlements. Like it's difficult. It's a difficult situation. So it might not even be Plaid Cymru's fault in a sense, even if it doesn't necessarily work out, because the Labour Party have every interest in the world, because they don't give a fuck about the people of Wales, but they have an interest in their own longevity, I suppose, to try and stymie anything that the Plaid Cymru want to do, in the same way that they've been trying to stymie the SNP in Scotland for years.
And it's failed. And that's probably a good segue into talking about the failure of Labour to capitalise on what was a terrible year for the SNP last year, right?
Yes.
There was just an absolute car crash year for the SNP.
When your leader gets photographed being arrested in a police car, that's not a great look.
And there was
good.
all the things going on with the collapse of the Butte House Agreement, all the internal stuff that was going on, like the infighting, people leaving for like Alba and leadership elections, and John Swinney just being a total like non-entity in like the second half of the year around election time, and them getting absolutely obliterated in Westminster from 45 seats down to 5 or whatever, or to 8, I think they have now. You know, really kind of being pegged down, even though they didn't lose that many votes, right? There was just a big coalescing of the unionist vote around Labour, because Tory and Reform unionists will happily vote Labour because they're really right wing now. And so that was what happened.
True, but, but Scotland did have a good year last year because Alex Salmond died.
But that means that you'd think that there's a Labour government that can give them the devolution settlement they need, so that you can show that it's not all the Westminster's fault, and like Labour have just been shit, and they can just blame Westminster again. It's so easy. They've just been given a massive layup. It doesn't help that Anna Sarwar is useless as well. But
Read my lips, no austerity.
Exactly. And so we're at this point where even with a crap leader, because John Swinney is basically a non-entity, right?
At least he's got like a decent party and decent policy.
Well, that's true, and he does believe in at least something, which is Scottish independence.
He does believe in our thing, yes. Oh, and of course, it's going to be a great year for Scotland next year because they're going to win the World Cup. Yeah,
so true, so true. And that's the thing, is that there are going to be Holyrood elections, and the SNP are going to have a majority, or most likely again, when the Holyrood was specifically designed so that there could not be a nationalist majority.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen twice. And one of those times it's going to happen on like an insanely low percentage of the vote as well.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen with the SNP with an absolute majority, they're going to be able to form another coalition government in Holyrood with the nationalist Scottish Greens.
Yep. Yeah, amazing stuff. Genuinely incredible. You love to
It's just like, imagine just having shat the bed in every single possible facet of British politics as the Labour Party. Just everything's gone wrong from start to finish. And
how many years, because they're obviously going to win, how many years will that then be with the SNP in government?
The 1,000-year SNP Reich. Like,
I'm sure they love that comparison, yes.
Although they are nationalists, after all.
They are, well, oh Jesus Christ, they are national socialists. Yes, yeah.
Jokes, by the way, for Scottish viewers. Please take this as a joke. Yeah.
What was I going to say? They've literally already lasted longer than the Nazis did. So well done there.
So
for the next Holyrood elections, it will be 26 years. That's a quarter of a century. That's fucking wild. That's wild. So basically, assuming they win next year, by the time of the next Holyrood elections, it will be 26 years. That's a quarter of a century of unbroken. I mean, to be fair, they also had like a coalition in there, so it's not all dominant. But like you say,
in fact, there's been an SNP First Minister in Holyrood that entire period.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is fucking wild. It was deliberately set up so that you couldn't get majorities. It was supposed to be about like cooperation and building. It was a sort of the European model of like every government has to be a fucking coalition of like 6 parties or whatever.
Well, it was supposed to kill off nationalism. Like the devolution settlements was to kill off nationalism, and by engineering there could never be a nationalist majority that could push Westminster for independence referenda or for the permission to break away from the union and secede. Right? That was the whole point of formulating the way that they did, and Westminster has shat the bed so hard in that time period. The SNP, in multiple occasions, have overcome the structural disadvantage of the way it's constructed to have a majority government, or at least a majority coalition government of all nationalists, because of the rise of the Scottish Greens. Yeah,
no, Maranello, not the entire 21st century, because that 26 years will be up to whatever 2030 or 2031, whatever it is. So it'll be like, I think they took over in 2003, 4. Was it 7? Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, there you go. 2007 was when they took over.
It's going to be funny to watch Labour fail again. And it's just the SNP just winning by default. Because, it's not like they've done terribly. There are concerns, obviously, like education, I think, is a big problem, apparently, for the SNP in terms of policy, because they spend a lot of their budget on welfare, which is fine. Like, child poverty is lower in Scotland than in other parts of the country. They've got nationalised water, nationalised trains before anybody else did. they still have some industry. Like, obviously, I think that the SNP's failure on industrial strategy has kind of been exposed. But then again, they're not any worse at this than the Labour Party are. So
Yeah.
what else is there to judge that on? Like, it's not like the Reform or Conservative parties are going to be interested in industrial strategy or state investment, is it? So it's just an SNP Labour competition, and they just both suck in the same way.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bit of a wash, isn't it, really, that particular issue? So you judge them on everything else, and on basically everything else, they're better than the Labour Party, that is. Yes, thank you to Holland Cube with 5 gifties, and thank you to Andrew Luke with 5 gifties. I'm going to have to suck so much dick. Honest, I am. And you know what? I'm a trooper. Let's go.
I think, and there's also, again, we mentioned them briefly, and maybe there's not much to say here, but Sinn Féin continuing to lead in Stormont, DUP just constantly just failing miserably. You love to see it.
You do.
Sodomy 1, Northern Ireland 0.
I don't think it's even 1-0 at this point. I think we're talking, this is a battering. This is a 4 or 5-0 job, this one, honestly. Sodomy's never had it so good. Giga.
Well, the people who don't get that joke, the previous kind of natural party of government in Stormont has been the Democratic Unionist Party, who were a political party founded out of the ashes of a pressure group called Ulster Against Sodomy.
Yeah, by the late, can we get some lols in chat? The late Ian Paisley Senior, who is dead. And that's very funny, because he deserves to be dead. And actually,
Sodomy 2.
And Sodomy's just banged in an absolute classic from the edge of the area. 2-0. Lovely stuff.
Hey there, if you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like and leave a comment. That helps the video out in the algorithm. If you subscribe and ring the bell, it'll let you know when I go live. I stream every day on YouTube and Twitch. You can also follow all of my socials down in the description. And if you want to support me in a more financial manner, there's a join button for membership to just 99p to be a member on YouTube, as well as a Patreon, and there's some merch there as well. And hopefully I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.